Good evening and a warm welcome to everyone here from Talking Films Online, TFO for short. TFO was founded almost on a whim by Professor Nikhila and myself in June 2020 during the lockdown. Since then, TFO has had uninterrupted discussions on films from all over the world every Saturday at 9 p.m. on Zoom. It is a group of film scholars, researchers, students, teachers, and anyone passionate about cinema. It has been our practice to invite people to select and lead the discussion of the chosen film, which we watch in our own time and place. On some occasions, filmmakers, editors, and cinematographers have also joined our sessions, as today we have with us the maker of this film, Ananya Kasaravalli. Aparna Sen, Girish Kasaravalli, and Adur Gopalakrishnan have been some of the other filmmakers. We have held film festivals such as East European, Iranian, Women's Cinema, and others. In the month of June each year, to celebrate our anniversary, we hold a smartphone short film making contest for students and also organize a lecture series in collaboration with colleges and university departments. This evening's film is HARIKATHA PRASANGA, and Diti Pujara will initiate the discussion. Diti works in the media industry. While she edits and writes breaking news as part of her daily job, she enjoys films, literature, and the company of cats and tea. A novice who loves to immerse herself in the journey of those 24 frames per second, she particularly enjoys modernist works, but Ozu, Wong Kar-wai, and Jafar Panahi are favorites. She has had her education in arts and literature. We are delighted to inform you all that the filmmaker Ananya Kasaravalli has also joined us for this discussion. Ananya is an actress and director in the Kannada film industry and a theatre artist in Karnataka. Born into a family of filmmakers, she has had a successful acting career in films, television, and theatre before taking up filmmaking at L.V. Prasad Film and Television Academy, Chennai. Her debut directorial feature, Harikatha Prasanga, or Chronicles of Hari, won the best film in the Indian Cinema Competition section in the 9th Bengaluru International Film Festival. Welcome, Ananya. Thank you very much for being with us. And over to you, Diti.
Thank you, Geeta. I'm very glad Ananya is here with us. So, because even I have some questions about the film. So hopefully I'll get to know more. This will be, like I said, this will be the third time I have watched this film. And with every viewing, a little more about Hari and Hari's story has opened up to me. And with every reading, I understand a little more about. There's always something you don't see in one viewing that it keeps emerging the more you see it. So I thoroughly enjoy watching this film. And I'm just going to I have some notes, and I'm just going to make my remarks and my observations, and then maybe we can take it from there. So um, basically, this is, while it's called Harikatha Prasanga, or the story of Hari, it is the story of many Haris, as I understand, and which is also situated in, every time the two, the two psychology students, they try to understand, or who are trying to understand the psyche of Hari. Every time they go and ask people about, tell us a little more about Hari, they come across a different name. He was known as Belari, as Harishchandra, Chandru, Kumara. So with every experience, a new identity, a new name emerges. So it's not one Hari. We are also partaking in this journey of, many Haris who are encountering this, I mean, who are going through this process of, becoming woman and man and becoming woman again. So that was one thing. And I found it very interesting the way the film begins itself. It took me back to a little bit that I studied about Shakespearean theater and theater in general, about this invocation. There's a foretelling, like in Shakespearean tragedies. There's a foretelling. That something has happened to Hari, that man, that crooked guy. There's the foretelling in from right from the first instance that someone's being asked about this person. And there is, just like a yakshagana performance begins, first there is, we see the preparation, then there is an invocation to the gods, the music is playing, we see the audience, and then we know the performance has started. Because performance is not just the it's not an element, it's also a very interesting theme in this entire film, right? I mean, where is the artist, the art, and the idea of performance situated? So Hari's performance becomes respectable and an art uh, only while he's the makeup is donned, only when he's on stage. The minute he comes down, his femininity, which is celebrated on stage, suddenly becomes an object of ridicule. So as long as an artist is only performing the art, or the art is, on stage, only then is it worthy of being art. The minute an artist participates, or he's trying to be, I mean, at this point this could be method acting, or anything. Like, the minute he's stepping into the character more and more, he's losing his essence, or in the eyes of, the others, as an artist. So the idea of performance is a very crucial theme in this whole film to me. And because even he says it, I can't play this role, one role by the night and one role by the day. I don't know if I am a man playing a woman, or at night, or a woman playing a man by the in the day. So that to me was a very beautiful way of exploring this idea of queerness. Because uh, I mean, the way a lot of these coming out stories of queer identity, of people associating themselves with an identity, comes with a certain set of knowledge that I knew I was this, and then I had to come out. But Hari's story of coming out has that sense of dysmorphia play out not in the childhood, but in his adulthood, in while he's growing up, while he's discovering himself as an artist, as a performer. So this sense of queerness is not always known to him. The more it's becoming, and that I felt that was a very, very beautiful thing. Most, I mean, a lot of cinema about queer identity has not, to me at least, I mean, there's always some exploration of coming of age, or you come to terms with it. But there is some sense of, I always knew I was this, I always knew I was attracted to this. But in Hari's case, it's very fluid. He goes to see a woman whom he wants to get married to. And I mean, it's in that it's in a that's also very interesting with the way time has played out in the film. Hari's discovery happens, we know that it's a long period of time, and that's been very beautifully condensed into this film. It's just 1 hour 40 minutes, but it feels like you have really seen a lot of Hari taking a lot of waves and journeys of his own. So that those are some things that I found interesting, and a lot of very beautiful observations, especially about women. Like when that woman, when in the beginning of the film, when that woman comes to him, and she says she really wants to connect with Hari. And it's not the kind of gaze that a woman will has towards a man. It is that kind of companionship that she is enjoying, because she is being portrayed. A woman, I mean, women don't just relate to women, they relate to anybody who portrays them. So for them it doesn't matter if it's a man portraying them, but it is their portrayal, and that is what is, it's such a gorgeous portrayal, that too. So that is also you know, that I found very interesting, very beautiful, and that was there. And uh, the the other thing was that there are multiple storylines also within the film. Like I said before, it's not the story of one Hari, but like with the student says, you know, we are imagining a Hari in every story. So the actor plays one, but it could be a you know, multitude of such Hari like characters. And so it's a story of multiple Haris. If we really take those strands out, it's many stories into one, not just one. Then there is also the story of Hari's mother, which is what I had questions about. I hope Ananya can answer like it or tell us more about it, at least after, at the end, because that was you know, that discovery of the trafficking, it just took me really by surprise, you know. And I wanted to know more about, you know, why that was introduced as an element in the film, that deception that Hari feels from his own mother, you know, how you know, she believed that you know, really changed the plot, because there was quite a moving scene also, where he says that, you know, I could not fathom my own mother's acceptance. So the deception and her acceptance was very weaved in together. So that was also a very interesting thing. And another thing that I found was that about this again about queer identities. A lot of these films about you know, gender identity or coming out, or you know, queer films, a lot of times they're associated you know, with a very now, here and now idea, whereas this film, first of all, we don't know what the timeline is. It could be the year that the film was made. It could have been 5 years ago. It's quite a timeless film in that way. You can't locate it in a very specific period, because it removes those references to time. So that was that I found interesting. And there was also, it's situated in a rural space, not an urban space. So the idea that you know, this kind of a gender dysmorphia, or this kind of films about queer identity can be made in any kind of space, this film exemplifies that. That was another thing. And also the question that we are constantly conflicted with in the entire film is, you know, whether Hari died by suicide. So a lot of people believe that he died, that he killed himself, but a lot of people believe that, you know, he was constantly being you know, I mean, it was the pressures of society. He was driven to his suicide, or he was driven to die, or, you know, whether he was murdered. We never know what really happened to Hari. But we see that, you know, there are many moments in the film through the shots, you know, there's this idea of reflection, and there is a sense of, you know, judgment, because wherever Hari is, there is a shot where when Hari is getting his hair cut, he's looking into the mirror. There is another shot where, I mean, that is a sense of disgust. Then there is this one shot where Hari is looking into the water, very happy. He's very happy with how beautiful he looks. You know, every time he watches himself, you know, reflected in his performance perform every time he watches himself in the eyes of his own audience, you know, his performance, there is a sense of satisfaction. So there are so many moments where he's reflecting, or he's shown as a reflection, and in while he's going through different you know, phases of understanding, accepting, of being disgusted, and towards the end where, you know, the curtains come down, where he's you know, where we see him walking into the water. He's not looking at himself, but it I mean, we see his reflection in the water. So this idea of I mean, this you know, the shots of his reflection are also very prominently there in the film. um, so these are some of my thoughts. Also, like I said, you know, the way that, I mean, this was, I think I'd said this even when it was shown at NGMA, that the way time has worked in this film is very, very interesting, because first of all, you can never say when it happened, and you never know, over how many years it happened. And the way this timeline is reconstructed, it's not Hari's story, it's people's story of Hari. So, how, when you piece together something, a whole, the way the narrative has emerged. So yeah, these are some of my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diti.
Yeah.
You have certainly opened out many areas for discussion. And it is a film like that. It, acts as a springboard to several points of discussion. And before I open it out for everybody else, I just thought I would also add a few lines, to speak about my own impressions of the film. I liked very much the way it began, making you think it is a documentary film, where these two young people are going and interviewing those uh, Yakshagana artists. And what was very interesting was the way they denied the interview, by saying, have you come here to mock at us? And, is this the kind of question you want to ask? And so that mode in which the film began, I thought was very interesting. And these two young people, the boy and the girl, they are almost like detectives, trying to find out that one question, how did Hari die? And like you have already said, those multiple identities of Hari were all very well worked out. So these are just some preliminary thoughts. It's now open for discussion. Yes, Nikhila?
Yeah, Aditi, thanks for those opening comments, and Ananya, thanks for making such a wonderful film. There were a couple of things that I was thinking while watching the film. One, of course, is this sense, and Diti, you too mentioned that there is nothing essential to gender. I mean, this is something we all know theoretically, but how do you kind of make it come onto the screen? So this film does that wonderfully well. This idea of gender as performance and iterative performance, the classic Judith Butlerian idea that it is about iterative, repetitive performance. And so you see that as he's performing as Hari, within quotes, performs on stage and gets the appreciation of people on the stage, it's like the same performance. I mean, it's almost seamless, what he is on stage, or who he thinks he is on stage, and who he starts seeing himself as of it. So it's if we think of identities as performative, both in the sense of our own enactment as well as in the sense of endorsement that we get from onlookers to our performance, we can see there a clear line of appreciation that happens every time he is performing as a woman, and he begins liking himself in that role. You can see him enjoy his movements in the course of the dance, and the occasions that he gets to perform his maleness whether in his, when he goes to meet this sex worker, or when he tries to get married, it seems like that is being denied to him. So why would he want to um, force himself to be seen in a way that or others cannot endorse it? So it's almost as if the identity that he embraces is the identity that he sees in people's eyes, that is as a woman. And it's confusing, probably, I thought, for him, why, as you said, it should even be repulsive. And the more he holds on to it, the more force is kind of brought upon him to shed that identity. So that conflict is brought out, I think, wonderfully well in the film. uh, on the one hand, you're expecting Hari to be someone, and the more he holds on to it, the more he begins liking himself. When he gets into the skin of who you like, you are asking him to kind of remove that, strip himself of that. So that conflict, that excruciating pain of, there is no essential identity. It is what you see in other people's eyes that you take on for yourself. So that excruciating conflict comes out wonderfully well, I thought, in the film. What did not work for me a little bit was the frame narrative. That is, these two somehow, Unchuru, if I may say so, it's like Rasabhanga. Every time they came onto the screen, of course they are youngsters. They are not committed to the major questions of Hari and identity. They are bumbling and they are fighting with each other. All that was nice, but somehow, um, that maybe it was just the acting, or maybe they were not sufficiently instructed about what they were up to, or maybe they were meant to be that. I don't really know. Since Ananya is here, she can tell us. So that framed narrative somehow didn't work for me. But the idea of, what Diti said, multiple Haris, so that this doesn't become just one person's story, which is also about how, in Ulidavaru Kandante, so how different people have different stories, different versions of, even it could even be the same person. So there are many selves in one person, or we could be thinking of multiple, identities, many people. So all that layering and complexity has come out very, very well, I thought, in the film. It was a very enriching experience, and certainly this is one of the films that I'm going to show to my students in my gender and film course. So thanks very much for making this film available to us. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikhila. Just to add a little bit to what you just said, this question of, performing gender. At one point, Hari is told, that you don't dance well. People like you only because you look good and you look so much like a woman. So that, like opens out this question of, if it is a woman on stage, is it enough for her to just look good? The craft of acting is not really something that one looks for in a female actor. So that was something nice. And I also wanted to recall a film called Natrang, which we had discussed on Talking Films Online. That's a Marathi film made by Ravi Jadhav. And Atul Kulkarni plays this role. He's a tamasha artist, and he also takes up this female roles in it. So when I was watching this film, I was kind of remembering that as well. Any other comments on the film? Faniraj, good to see you here. Would you like to speak?
Gita, I'll come later. I'll come later.
Okay, sure, sure. Yeah. Yagnashri.
Madam,
Yes.
good evening.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good evening.
my doubt is that he, after going for a haircut, and when he wants to present himself manly, all of a sudden he prefers to go for women's attire. Could you please let me know about it?
Yeah, I think Ananya has a host of questions to posed to her. And would you like to take more questions, Ananya, or would you like to come in now?
Uh, yeah, firstly, hello everyone, and
Yeah.
thank you very much for taking time out and watching the film, and thank you, Geeta and Nikhila, for having me over to talk about the film. Diti, I think Diti and Nikhila, both of them, were so articulate and so beautifully spoke about the film. Um, uh, yes, see, you've seen the films, but nobody in the film talks a lot, so I'm not very good at talking. I really struggle with that. So hope we'll be able to. I'll be able to answer all your questions. I would also like to say that Samvartha is also here. Samvartha has been a very important part of the film. He was with us from the starting of the idea till everything, and he's a great friend, and he's also here. And hi, Samartha. I would also like him to also pitch in about the film and help me also answer the questions that is posed to me. Yes, Nikhila spoke about the frame narrative. As in, it was, the other two characters in the film um, were distracting. Uh, See, the one I understand what you're saying, Rasabhanga. I think that was something which we wanted to, Rasabhanga antala, like, as in, there are 2 points that I was trying to derive from that. One was that it was important for me to say that we were not talking about one person. We were not talking about Hari alone, but we were talking about Hari, Chandru, Beladi, everybody. So to do that, we use this narrative technique of breaking it, and also at the very, it was an experiment which I tried. As in, at every point, when you're completely invested in the film, we cut the film and we take you away from Hari's story and put you somewhere else. So that was a very conscious effort, that conscious design that we did. Even while we were writing it, we weren't sure if that's going to work or not. But that is something we did for that reason, uh, to distract the audience and take them away from the emotional connect from Hari, and then try to see the larger picture of the whole thing. Um, any other questions?
I think there was one from Yagnashri, right, about that haircut scene.
Yes, madam. Yeah.
I think Ananya has.
Yes, ma'am. Could you please
Yeah.
repeat that haircut sequence, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good evening, madam. That was really a wonderful movie. Thank you. And after going for a haircut, and when he wanted to present himself as a with a manly appearance, all of a sudden he prefers to go for a woman's attire. What makes him all of a sudden to choose it? So could you please say something about it?
Yes, so throughout the film that you see, there is a constant back and forth with that, as in he's trying to be comfortable, you know, like wearing the attire and everything. Then he's told that he has to be more feminine, and not just so what happens previous to that is that he's been told to be more feminine. So then he says, I don't want to be feminine, so I want to be masculine. So he cuts his hair. To him, that's a great protest, and he says, now I'm trying to be what I am, culturally told to be. So I'm told I have to be like a man, so I'm going to cut my hair and be like a man. And then when again that is not accepted nicely, then he goes back again as a mark of protest. He says, I'm going to now wear a sari and walk out. So at every step, it's also a mark of protest for him, that he's protesting against whatever that is being told to him.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, I hope I answered it convincingly.
I also had I wanted to know more from you about why you introduced the mother's story, and how that, according to you, really I mean, it's quite a plot twist that over there. So I really wanted to know more about the mother's story, and how it came to be, if you can tell us a little bit.
Yes, the mother's story was actually this is based on a short story by Gopal Krishna Pai, Beladi Harishchandra, and this is one element that was there in the short story, where the mother uses his image, and tries to traffic girls. That to me was very hard hitting. Like you said, it was something that was very unsettling. So and also that how we are just talking about one person's identity, gender, and his conflict and everything, but how people are also making use of that conflict, how they are manipulating things around him to make it work for them. So that element was even more hard hitting. So I said, we have to use that element in the film, and that's why we kept it in the film.
Okay, thank you, Ananya. Any other? Vijay, would you like to speak? Uma, would Uma like to speak? Samvartha, would you like to say something about your experience of being part of this film?
Hi, I mean, maybe I'll speak later, because I mean, I'm curious to listen to others. Of course, I'll share, and whatever I mean, I speak, I'll be very biased, not just because I was part of it, but also because yeah, I mean, it's Ananya's brainchild. I mean, she's a friend and all of that. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious to listen to others, because there has been less discussion on the film, so I'm curious. So I'll not talk now. I'll come in the end. Yeah.
Okay, so then it's time for the others to come in. What happened? Why the silence? Yes, Tarkeshwar, please go ahead.
Okay, if there's nobody else, I thought I will respond to some of the issues that have been already raised.
Yes, please.
One issue is about uh, the conflict within himself, the character himself or herself, I don't know how to put it. Because that itself is the conflict. He doesn't know whether he's a woman or a man or what it is. So there is an oscillation that is happening, and this oscillation is not simply psychological, which is something that is there in him, or is it something ontological or biological? Uh, it is more like a kind of self and other. There is a kind of constant negotiation between uh, people around him ascribing certain gender identity to him, and then he trying to assert something else and negotiate with it. That conflict has come out very well. I think this self and other conflict, whether it's a assertion or it's an imposed identity, when woman identity is a own identity, and when it is imposed by others, that conflict is very well. And connecting this to the story of the mother, the character of the mother comes out as very uh, passionate about her son until her another son's marriage uh, gets problematic. So until then, she's very fond of this fellow. She's very cooperative. Though there are hints of trafficking trade in the beginning too, it becomes very clear at the end. And the revelation of the story about the mother and this character disappearing in the water. I don't know that I don't know whether I should call it suicide or something else. The disappearing into water, they coincide. It's a kind of shock to him. He was able to negotiate all of the things that were happening around him, and this story, why his mother is who had disowned him is suddenly taking him back, and then this connection, he sees something, that kind of revelation or enlightenment within him about his mother makes him disappear into water. So that I thought these two issues which came up about mother, and then is the confusion within him about whether he should cut his hair or whether he should wear sari or whether he should wear a langa and then a blouse, or he should wear a dhoti. Uh, these are all attires. These are all again performances. Whether it's performance on stage or performance off stage, we're all performing, and these performances are not simply determined by biology or some ontological truth within what we call a self. It is more dynamic. It's constant interaction between the self and the other. Self always gets shaped vis-a-vis the other. That I think is quite interesting. I will stop here at this point. If there are more issues, I will come back later. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarkeshwar. Anyone else would like to step in now? Yes, Uma?
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
I just wanted to say, I really loved the rhythm of the film and the pace of the film. I really was drawn into it. And this young man's face, just his casting, I thought was brilliant. His face is so moving. It's so expressive. And all his confusions, you just totally get pulled into them. So that was something that I really loved viewing and relating to. It was not the way the film was plotted itself. The climax was expected, I felt. Right in the beginning in her hotel, she says, no, that other girl has gone off, now this new girl has come. So you're sort of, unsettled already. It's very unsettling, both because of his confusions and his traumas that he so clearly expresses. And the way the film sets it up, it really keeps you at a very edge. You know that there's some, not just this young man, of course, this young man's confusions and traumas and need to figure out what he is, what the culture is telling him he is, all that, of course, we completely are caught up in. And those shots of him by the river are also very moving. Again, they tell us that we know what may happen. They sort of lead us. They keep leading us. So that's what I really just wanted to say, that I loved the way the film sets it up so quietly, but so astutely. I can't find the right word, but so gently and so clearly. It's telling us where we're going, and then we arrive at it. I really enjoyed it. I really, really was moved by it. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Uma. Any other interventions?
Yeah.
Yes, Funny Raj, please come in. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is for me, it's a very layered film. And before this, I had seen Ananya's graduation submissions, which is again centered on gender identities more directly than this one. I think I don't remember the titles of those films, but I have seen those films which she made for her graduation, L.V. Prasad graduation, which was much coarser. I mean, which transgender identities directly dealt with, and which was much coarser. And I remember she also made one short film based on Sadat Hasan Manto's story about partition. I think I am right, Ananya. You made Sadat Hasan Manto's partition story, one story, where again
Yes,
the question of
yes, sir.
the question of identities come. But this film was a surprise for me, because when I saw it first time on the big screen, it was a surprise for me, and it was being shot in and around where I'm living. But not even once I went and peeped into what they are doing, because a lot of young friends who are involved with this film, including Sam, Vishnu, and a host of other students who are, who are young friends who are working around. I looked at the title card. I was wondering, so many are involved in that. And I just didn't go to one location and see what they are doing. But of course, that was better, because going to location and seeing it, and as an audience going to go to screen and look at the big screen. But I enjoyed it in the big screen. And the first thing I finished that film, I did see that film in Bangalore International Film Festival. When I finished, then came back. The first thing which struck me was a poem, which is a very loving poem for me. I mean, which is a poem which again and again I go back, of A.K. Ramanujan. It's a very seems to be a very simple, smart poem. But as always, Ramanujan's poems seems to be simple and smart, but haunts you a lot, and again comes back to you. That poem is I don't exactly presenting to you. I have read it in Kannada. I believe that it's also in English. It says about it. It picks up from Chinese folklore, where it simply says that a king used to dream that he is a butterfly. While in the night, while he's dreaming, he always dreams that same dream, that he is a butterfly. And again in the morning, he will be the king. And as that continuously he goes on having the same dream all night, that the question of existentialism comes in. Finally, the poem ends as if whether I am whether I am a butterfly who transform myself, butterfly who transform myself into king in the day, or whether I am a king or who transform myself into butterfly in the night. So that question is that particular existentialist question, which all Ramanujan's poems again and again and again poses through mundanity of our life, because Ramanujan always brings the mundanities of our life and again puts them as existentialist questions between man-woman relations, between familial relations, in such a existentialist metaphors. So one thing which struck me, and one particular dialogue which comes, I was thinking that since Girish has written that is also a part of the script, and Ananya is part of the script, I thought they would have read that poem, A.K. Ramanujan's poem, and they are interpreting it, because that one in the very beginning that comes when Hari says that all the night I will be woman, in wearing the costume, and I will be playing woman, and in the day I'll become a man, but I am not interacting. I am just sleep around as a man. In the darkness I will sleep around, and in the light, in the night, I'll come back and become a woman. So the question for me is whether I am really a woman who will become man in the night, I mean the day, or I am a man who become woman in the night. So when I thought, and it's they are paying tribute to Ramanujan, but when I immediately after seeing that film, I couldn't talk to her, because while she was around and she was surrounded by appreciating audience, I skipped her and went away. And later I called her and I told her that this is the lines, exactly these are the lines which haunted me for long, and this film haunts me like that. She said, and at that time, I don't know how she can connect me back now again. At that time, when I asked her, she said, no, I have not read that poem, or that poem didn't connect me to that film. So that is still, even today, when you took up for the discussion, and I was having a second viewing when it is presented, again it came back to me. Again, I even after I think I did see it in 2016. After 7 years, again that question, that Ramanujan's poem comes back to me. So I perceived this film, or I experienced this film as an existentialist film, which existentialism, which come to face with society. It's not just about the gender; it could be anything. Again, it brings me back to Girish's film Bannada Vesha, where caste question comes, where caste identity comes. Yakshagana, who wears that Bannada Vesha, a prominent this thing, and being coming from a lower caste, the identity of caste and the role and the actual existence of a caste and being role played on the stage. So it again brings to the fore through our art form. It brings the framework of society. What society is trying to assign us through the framework of art, is it the assigned roles that you should be this? Beyond that frame, you don't have an existence, or I should live within that frame and accept it, and come out of the frame and accept the reality, disconnecting the frame of art from the frame of societal existence. Because if you look at, I am not sure Gopal Krishna Pai's experience, but one who have lived and heard about Yakshagana players, or Yakshagana Bailata players here, and most few of them coming from the lower caste, they have experienced it, that on the stage they are celebrated, on the stage they are appreciated within the framework of the artwork. Once they come out, they experience all kinds of caste discriminations, to the extent that very late it became an issue. So such and such a issue that they were not allowed to be played. A very, very prominent Yakshagana artist, since he is from a particular lower caste, he was not allowed to be played in the very first this thing, what is called as HARIKATHA. Because of he belongs to that particular caste, it became an issue, and it became such a big issue around here. And also the sexual exploitation, the real sexual exploitation, which some of the philanthropists who work for such people, I mean, they said that there is a larger question of this is what we call AIDS problem. So they were organizing money and treatment for them, and safeguarding from them for about that. That also they used to say it comes from that kind of identities, where that conflict of identities of what they are, and that kind of what you call heterosexual attitudes have become a problem there. So when I heard that, it was shocking, because it was in a very close quarters. It is not to be discussed in public. But when one of my friends who is involved deeply with Yakshagana and all that, when he said that he is going to go for some person, I don't want to name them, and to beg him for donation for this kind of things, I heard, what you are talking? He said, you don't know it, this is the reality of the Yakshagana performers, that what you see on them the stage and beyond. So he said me the same thing. They themselves doesn't know whether their existence is what they perform on the stage, because almost half a day, I mean, almost 3/4 of the day they are involved in that particular thing, and 1/4 of the day when they come out in society, how society sees them as person or a part of society is different thing. That should be very shocking to them. And this question of sexual and gender identity is also like it for them. So it whole of the thing which comes here is not just the layered gender. I mean, this film is of course a very layered exposition of gender identities, but it goes even beyond. I'm not sure whether because I connected to all the things which I heard about or I learned about, or I connected it directly to existentialist question, which Ramanujan's poem, and again he raises this through poem, through metaphorically raises this thing. But to me, even today, after having a third viewing of this today, I felt that it's much more deeper than gender issue. It takes you to issue of existence, that is societal existence. What is yourself? Whether you have to identify yourself through the framework where you dedicate yourselves into, say, art or anything, any profession, or when you come out of that framework, whether it should be identified with your place in society. So these are the things, this is continuously a conflict which could come for anyone, but which is more glaring and which could be talked, debated, and brought to the fore when you come to the question of art within, I mean, art, meaning of art, the artist, I mean, artists perceive or perception of artists of themselves and being in society. All these multiply layered questions comes to this. So it need not be to Yakshagana, even a Dalit poet, who is a Dalit poet, who accepted, who is in poetry and in the literary framework, the acceptance which comes to them, and beyond, if you go beyond that framework, the kind of they again and again talk about the kind of discrimination, very, very layered, I mean, very subtle discrimination they face. So again and again, the caste identity and identity put within the framework of art. That I am been hearing from young Dalit writers, that why it is like that for us. So this film, I connected it, that it also talks about not just about gender identity, but through that, it also opens out a larger question of your identity that you want to gain through a particular way of expression that you choose. Here, Hari chooses Yakshagana, or somebody may choose some other thing, or somebody may choose some profession, where I even know in profession, in engineering profession also, I know that their role, what they pay in that profession, is appreciated, and they are uh, and then the whatever due to, I mean, appreciation due is given while they are in that professional framework. You just come out of the professional framework, it's just as if that professional framework is the cloth you wear. Once you take out that cloth, their societal identity comes up, and it is completely delinked from their professional performance. That shocked me many times. Even I experienced it being a technical professional. I myself experienced that kind of discrimination that they experience, and they talk to us with a lot of pain about. After all, we think that while we play ourselves as our identity, that we have risen to that identity within the framework of profession, we think that we are accepted as that, and we are given a due in this society. But just come out of that, you see all the prejudices, all the casteist prejudices comes out. So what I am, so I have heard it from many professionals. I have heard these professional stories about the caste discrimination of the very competent professionals. So all these thing comes together and crystallizes in Harikatha Prasanga. And this Harikatha is not just about Harikatha. It's about itself is a form where there seems to be a central story, but central story is not important. All these subtexts, sub stories are much important because it wanders here, there, and again comes back. The central story comes, they come to that point and again departs from that. So in Harikatha, never the central story is told or becomes important, because all these sub stories or subtexts will lend a meaning to the central story. So in that sense also, using of that particular form to narrate that various point of views which are very diverse come together, come to one point, and then again departs. That's where I thought that breaking of that narrative through those two young people also matters here. This is the preliminary remarks. If I need to say anything, I'll come back. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Faniraj. There's a question from Sridhar here in the chat box. Can we put this film in puzzle films category? Sridhar, would you like to say something more about this before a discussion ensues? Would you like to elaborate, Sridhar?
No, I'm trying to see because various facets of one personality is presented in the film. So, unlike the traditional stories or the storytelling, beginning and an introduction of an evil and resolution, here you have without an ending or multiple meanings. Like that, it's a kind of new era of movies. No? So I was thinking whether we can put it in the puzzle films category, irrespective of I'm following the discussion. It's interesting, but I was thinking like this. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Sridhar. Ananya, would you like to address that question now or later?
I don't know what category we can put the film in. I don't know. But I would like to actually elaborate on what Panisa just spoke. Um, for us, when we were writing this film, it was not just about gender identity. It was an existential question that we were trying to explore. It was a question of self and performance in gender, self and performance outside gender. There was this Polish short story that Gopal Krishna Pai, Paimam, as I call him, narrated to me when we were writing this story, writing the script. It is on the same lines of Ramanujam's poem, where what happens there is that there's a king and there's a prisoner. So during day he's a king, and during night he's a king, and during day he's a prisoner whose job is to draw water from the well. So towards the end of the story, he says, "Am I the prisoner who's drawing water, or am I the king who's enjoying the benefits of it?" So that was a story that came back to our script table many times, because we were very intrigued by it, and we were trying to uh, that was there with us in the conversations when we were writing the script. So for me, and for all of us who wrote the script, it was not just about Hari's gender identity. It was an existential question that Hari and all of us as performers, as being, we were all trying to explore in this. What also happened and why we derived at that multiple narratives is like how Pani sir also rightly spoke about it. After we finished, like after we decided we're going to make this into a film, we started scripting it and everything. One part of it was for my homework as a filmmaker, that I wanted to go and visit a lot of Yakshagana troops and try and understand and meet with them and speak to them and everything. And while we were doing this, there was a kind of a repeated a story that we kept hearing, the same kind of experiences that all they're called Stree Veshadharis, the Stree Veshadharis experienced. So from there, the need to say speak about Hari, Chandru, Beladi, everything came to us, saying it was a very collective the experience of the entire Yakshagana troupe that we wanted to share here. I would also like to touch upon one thing that Diti also mentioned when in the first sequence, why women were very nice to Hari in the first segment, is that is something we observed while we were talking, and that scene came from Paimam, where he said while he was meeting the artists and all, he noticed this kind of a very a very friendly behavior. Uh, it was not like a woman was talking to a man, it was like a woman was talking to another woman, and that we thought was very interesting in the understanding of things. So we tried to make that into a scene. That element was very interesting for us. So that's why the dialogue also saying that he says, why when I am dressed like the heroes of the play, but women are drawn to you. And he says sukak matra gans beko, dukkak hengse beko. That originated from from all of that experience of
And
Thank
and another Ananya, and other thing, I don't know whether it's in Gopal Krishna Pai's story or not, that he visiting that lady and that lady saying him that all the men will bring me jasmine and you brought me this, because they do they see films and they come back with jasmine, they don't understand what woman likes. And somebody referred to her as sex worker. No, she's not a sex worker. And I was shocked to hear that there are kind of women who think that Yakshagana is a kind of a godly art, and artists are the godly persons when they put that roles, and they think it is the service they render to them that satiate their sexual desires post their performance. she satisfies them as a save, harke. I mean, it's a kind of harke. So the people who are deeply involved in profession, Yakshagana profession, told me about few women from very respected families, but who give themselves to the artist as a save. So and he refers to the, I don't know from where it came to you, but when somebody says him that you can go and test it there, that is a breaking point for him, I suppose. I mean, that in the narrative it comes like that. That's one breaking point. He knows that he is something. He is not a male as in a sense as society assigns them to, but he's more of a having a feminine this thing. The one thing which that a conversation before he goes and plays on the stage comes that that what is woman and all those things. But when he comes to her and he says that you are not like man, you are just, since you are a woman, you can understand what our desires and what we are. So he completely uh, it shifts him that he might be that in conversation with her, because it is for the respect of that woman, that woman kind of woman treat them, they are not sex workers. They think that it's the same way that they are doing, and that honest woman speaks like that to him, that confirms him that there is something in him. That's just I wanted to add to you.
Yes, sir. And also, while we were that is the most rejection, like a populist masculine understanding. That is a rejection that is the hardest to take. So in this whole understanding, you know that is why when she touches him and says you're like a woman to me, that rejection becomes more magnitude, more enlarged in his idea of all of this. Is something that we wanted to also bring about in that scene.
Yeah, Tarkeshwar, you had unmuted. Please go ahead.
I think Paniraj has raised very important issues with the film also rises in a prominent way. But I think putting it in the existentialist framework and then reducing it to existentialist question is a kind of disservice to the issues that you are raising. Because Paniraj is raising an important issue like social identity, gender as social identity, gender as sexual identity, and then there is a gender as a uh, social identity, and then caste as a social identity, and the intersection of these two. Plus, is also brought in the question of the professional identity. One is the caste is an ascribed identity. When you look at gender as an social identity, it is an ascribed identity. Uh, but artist and the profession, they are achieved identities. So how the society looks at the identities which are achieved, not ascribed, and then how the society looks at the identities which are ascribed is quite interesting to look at. And then the other issue is of that Paniraj raised is also important in the sense that uh, when I'm performing on stage, it's a professional thing that I'm doing. Should people look at me as an artist, or should they look at me as an artist from a particular social background? This question is very important because last 100 years uh, this question has dogged our theater, dogged our cinema, and many other uh, uh, question of representations. Uh, whether Rajkumar should play a Baswanda role or not, whether he should play a Raghavendra role or not, Can he play? No, I will play Raghavendra alone without eating vegetables for so many days. Without meat, not vegetables, meat. Without meat eating, and I will observe certain things before taking on that role. And it is also similar to the Guddas and other Bhuta Kola for farmers doing it. So before taking on a particular role of a deity or a semi-deity, they observe certain things. So they prepare themselves to take on that role. So, whether the social identity can be kept aside through certain rituals and practices as prescribed by the society to take on certain roles is also quite interesting. So it is also true in the case of the actors who acted in the 90s television series Ramayana and Mahabharata. Wherever they went, people falling on their feet and then taking their obeisance was also happening. So in that sense, when my identity gets fixed by the roles that I perform, or when I'm performing a role, do my social identities cast a shadow on the character that I'm performing? So where does this spillover happens? And how our society has reacted to it in the last 100 years is also a quite an interesting issue. Uh, this is again, we need a kind of framework to understand the social identity which is ascribed, and then the achieved identities which you try to assert through your efforts, and then the intersection between these ascribed identity and achieved identity, and between the two different ascribed identities itself is an interesting issue. It cannot be reduced to the existential questions that folk tales stripped off a certain historical context rise. That is my point. I think I wanted to bring in. Thank you.
But
Thank you,
also,
Sarvesh.
but also interestingly, since Sam is here, I don't know whether Sam have read Manjude's poem at that time when he was involved in making the film, because Sam later translated it, Manjude's poems, which I thank Sam too, because since he translated it, I came to be engaged with those poems during the translation and then publication. Manjude's poem haunts me because again and again and again, Nagaraj Manjude returns to that. I mean, not as a filmmaker, but as a poet, which he primarily, in his initial stages, considered himself to be a poet. That his poems again and again ask that, can this particular achieved identity of a poet is not letting me back to the freedom of from this caste? It's again and again and again bringing me down. So ultimately, whether I should find freedom being a poet or I should detest it, that it never gets me out of this social framework. And his nihilistic poems, that at the brightest of his poems, brings to that I will cling to this identity. I think one of the poems which he says, finally, this is me. One who writes is me. So I am here because of this words, this thing which I write. So all his poems, which Sam has translated into Kannada, that engagement while collaborating with Sam in translation of it, I got that idea of how art identity, what as Tarakeshwar was saying, achieved identity. Can I transcend my social status by this achieved identity, and finally, can I become that? Can it liberate me from ascribed identity? Finally, what I should become, or whether I should protest from my social identity, or I should liberate myself from identity as a poet. That again and again comes back in Manjude. I think I don't know whether it is translated in English, but Sam has translated in Kannada and it's in Marathi. I think that's one of the reference also this I can make along with this film.
Thank you. Thank you, Tarkeshwar and Faniraj. Any more comments, questions? Now, would you like to come in, Samvartha?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, thank you, thank you. I'm happy for Ananya that this discussion is happening and all these conversations are happening. I mean, as mentioned, I mean, I was involved from the stage of ideation, and for me also, I mean, it was, I mean, it's something which evolved. I mean, like anything which evolves, like it was a discovery that was being made. I mean, there was a story, and then it was, as I looked at, I mean, it was about, I mean, roles that are actually kind of assigned to people, like you have to do this, and all those different names was like, okay, I mean, what is the expectation people have from certain role? Like, I mean, as an artist you have to behave in this way, but I mean, as a mother you have to behave in this way, as a father, as a son, all these roles are ascribed, and I mean, you can't actually kind of, I mean, what to say, I mean, mess with that. I mean, those codes are very strict. So I mean, for me, I thought, okay, I mean, it was about that, and also about, I mean, a certain, what to say, acceptance in a social realm. I mean, in the social space, which is conditional. Like if you actually kind of, I mean, mess with the codes, then you actually kind of are not accepted. So I mean, Hari performing woman as an artist is accepted. I mean, that code is actually kind of fine. And sometimes, I mean, it also started, while I mean engaging with the film, I mean, from the script to actually kind of, I mean, being shot and then being edited. It's also about how we actually kind of, I mean, we form these scripts of certain roles in our own minds. Like I mean, I still remember, like, I mean, when my sister got married, the day, I mean, the marriage is over, and then that whole bidai ceremony was happening, and my mother is weeping, and I couldn't understand why my mother was weeping, because my sister was already staying out for several years, and it's not that she was in the house and now she's actually kind of going. And suddenly my aunt asked me, like, are you not feeling sad that your sister is leaving you? I'm like, she's already been staying out. So somewhere I felt, okay, my mother was performing this role which is scripted in her mind of actually kind of, you as a mother you have to perform this way. I mean, so I mean, I felt like, Hari as Beladi is also, I mean, the kind of expectation people have as to you have to be this way, you have to be this way. I mean, and which is also, something which, I experience also, while teaching. Like, I do not like to be this, very teacher kind of a person. But the moment you actually kind of, no, I mean, I do not mean disrespect to any students over here, like, or anything. But the moment you actually kind of treat a student as almost like an equal in a very friendly manner, the student almost believes that, okay, हाँ रे यार इसको seriously नहीं लेने का है types. I mean, because you are not performing in that. So suddenly, I mean, that kind of what is, I mean, the way you are treated itself actually kind of starts altering when you actually kind of do not follow those strict codes, which is a kind of created in our minds. So that's how actually kind of, Hari and multiple Hari. I mean, so it was not just about identity for me. It was also about roles that we actually kind of look at. I mean, and it's something which, I mean, around the same time there was something very troubling that had happened. I mean, in a totally different this scenario. Like, someone from the institute actually kind of, I mean, a very sensitive person in a personal space had actually kind of, I mean, what to say, done something which was very unacceptable. And I couldn't actually kind of, I mean, digest as to this person who is sensitive in this particular space, how could this person be cruel in this particular space? But then the only way I could actually kind of, I mean, kind of what is, I mean, square the circle was actually by saying that, okay, I mean, the way this person perceives that role is that way, that it has to be in a certain way. I mean, this role he perceives in this particular way. So we are constantly performing those roles, and the scripts are actually kind of, I mean, the society kind of, I mean, imposes it, but after a point it gets internalized also. And somewhere Hari feels like, I mean, he's just breaking away from that. I mean, that's how actually, I mean, I kind of started looking at it, and as, I mean, role and conformity and acceptance being very conditional. And that was the most painful thing to actually kind of live with. While we were working through that, okay, is acceptance really conditional? If it's conditional, it's so painful. Ideally that is not how it should be, right? So it was quite painful in that sense. And also, one of the reasons, since it came up in the discussion today, that why the mother had to be so ruthless or cruel and all of that. It was really kind of, very hard. But again, there actually I thought, mother as a very nurturing, caring identity, role is also something that we have actually kind of romanticized way too much. There are cruel mothers, there can be cruel mothers. Sorry, for a lot of people it may sound very harsh, but no, it is a truth. So somewhere I thought, okay, Ananya was actually kind of trying to, while she was saying that, okay, not every human being has to conform to male, female, these kind of roles. Even our roles as mother, it's not that, okay, these are constructions that we have made, that, okay, mothers are always nice, maa to bhagwan saman hoti hai. No, not necessary. Those roles were also kind of being broken. And also, this one, point that came up, of the haircut. It was a very, very interesting part in the film for me, because the acceptance of oneself and assertion of oneself doesn't happen smoothly. Before acceptance, before assertion, one has to acknowledge, and that's a really, really tough job. So to actually, am I really, not man? That kind of thing. So, but first he wants to assert, no, probably I am a man. And that entire, tension, that the uneasiness with which one has to acknowledge finally that, no, this is not how it is, this is how it is. That tension actually kind of, came out. That was very interesting for me. Just a couple of things, before actually kind of, conclude. And also, one of the very interesting things, which Diti actually kind of mentioned in the beginning, that it's not that actually, Hari knows whether he's actually kind of a man or a woman. It's something that he's discovering, he's trying to actually kind of unfold, kind of unpack for himself. And that's it's a very, not just a risky job, but also a very tiring job. It's almost like those sailors who actually kind of initially took the boat and said, "Chalo dekhte hain, kahan pahunchte hain." You don't know. Is there a land? Does the world end and you will fall off, or you will fly to the sky? You don't know. Like, it's that kind of thing. Like, it's a discovery that's being made, and that aspect actually kind of discovery is something which comes. Even those two, Siri and Ganesh, who played those, youngsters. They're also trying to discover. Hari is also trying to discover. And interestingly, the film was also kind of being discovered. To be honest, like, when the script was ready and when we were going to shoot, I personally did not know what exactly was there. It could be this, it could be that. It's something I was, given the job of telling the actors what to actually kind of, what the next scene is, brief them on the scenes. So every time, every actor would actually kind of ask, like, why is there so many Haris? Why is the name? And every time, whatever came to my mind, I would actually kind of say, like, it's like this. And just, so even I was discovering the whole thing, like, why exactly it is this way. So it's an endless discovery in that sense. Probably that's what humans are like. There is nothing like definite. And while I'm saying that, okay, there is nothing definite, I must mention this one particular thing, that on script, the film actually ends with a very, very interesting dialogue which Girish sir wrote. And he said, while writing, he said that it was a great Kannada writer, Purnachandra Tejasvi, who had told him, probably in a personal conversation or something. But he says, Tejasvi says, in the film, what happens is that boy asks the girl, like, do you really believe what you have heard? And she says something in response, which is what Tejasvi had told Kasaravalli sir. He says, the sentence goes like, ನಾವು ಯಾವತ್ತು ಸತ್ಯನ ಹುಡುಕ್ತಾ ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು ಏನು ಸತ್ಯ ಅಂತ ನಂಬಿರ್ತೇವೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಪುರಾವೆಗಳನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೇವೆ. To actually translate it, it's we are never in search of truth, but we are always looking for evidences to substantiate what we already believe is the truth. And I thought that was a great dialogue. Even now, actually, I think it's a great dialogue. But while shooting, Ananya avoided it. And I mean, I remember actually kind of almost saying like that dialogue, and she's like, yeah, I know we have not shot it. And she did not answer me. But later on, I realized, I mean, the moment you actually kind of say it, it becomes certain. I mean, the entire thing becomes very, what is, I mean, you seal it. Probably, I mean, what Ananya is, I mean, in the film, what Ananya is really fighting is the sealing of things. Be it roles, be it identity, be it anything, be it meaning. So she's actually kind of opening up. So probably that's why, I mean, there is so much of water in the film. I mean, the fluidity of it. And I mean, as she herself actually kind of says, I mean, it's a film about gender fluidity. I mean, that's how, I mean, the conversations began. But probably it's about fluidity about a lot of things. That's one thing. And also, I mean, the kind of, someone mentioned the casting of Shringa. So, I mean, Ananya will not say all these things, but I'll actually kind of say it, not just because she's a friend, but it was really, the kind of vision and the clarity that with which Ananya worked is commendable. When the script was almost coming to an end, we were discussing as to who could be the performing the role, and one of the things which kept coming up between, we were four of us. I mean, Ananya, Kasaravalli sir, Gopal Krishna Pai, myself. I mean, someone who knows Yakshagana should be actually kind of performing the role. So we were actually in searching of Yakshagana artists who could do the role. But Ananya kept saying, no, there is this one theater artist and he's the character. I mean, he has to play it. She showed the photographs to Kasaravalli sir, Gopal Krishna Pai. They were like, oh, probably not, probably not. I saw it and I was like, okay, I mean, probably not. And then we actually kind of, Ananya arranged a meeting with Shringa. So she and I went there. We met Shringa. While driving back home, I told Ananya, maybe not, maybe not. I mean, maybe he's not Hari. He's not Hari. But the day we finally, we started shooting. I mean, then I suddenly kind of, the first shot, scene which we shot with, Shringa, I was convinced, no, there is something which Ananya saw. I mean, that's something very actually kind of commendable. I mean, the way Ananya worked on the film, I mean, it's something which, it was a great learning experience for me. And it was also a learning experience for me to realize that probably direction is not my thing. Because I cannot work so meticulously. But Ananya, I mean, the kind of details, she had worked on every details of it. So I mean, yeah, I mean the whole, everyone keeps, what to say, wherever the film has been screened, people keep complimenting Shringa's work. But what is actually kind of, what the credit also should go to Ananya for seeing, Hari in Shringa and kind of getting Hari out of Shringa. That's one thing. And just one final thing, probably, while working on the film, there were a lot of local people who were involved as actually kind of side actors, and there was this one person who played a very minor role somewhere in the backdrop, but it looked like, there was a Hari in this person. And that was something which Ananya and I personally have discussed also. And this person would actually kind of very religiously come to the set whenever required and whenever not even required also, and just wear sari and just be there. Even when this person was not to be there, at no point this person would actually kind of come in the foreground of the scene, but still this person would come, even if that's a small role in some corner of the scene itself, very very joyfully actually kind of wear sari, do makeup and wear kind of flowers and just be there and go around the set as if like, okay, I'm just waiting for the call kind of thing. And that was actually very I don't know how to actually kind of put it also. And that's where actually I started wondering, like, is what to say, performance the only place this person where actually can actually kind of be what they wish to be or what they actually are from within? Is performance the only space? What would have happened if this person actually kind of actually had had gone out of the film set wearing the sari? It would have been exactly what happened to Hari would have happened. So I mean I mean even now, a lot of times actually, I mean, I remember that I mean, a person who was nowhere prominent in the film, but actually kind of he's very prominent in my memory, and it was almost like a parallel story that was happening to the story that we were shooting. And I mean, I just thought, okay, I mean, because it leaves me with that unanswered question, like, I mean, probably, I mean, is Hari supposed to make peace only as in performing that? I mean, is that the only space? Then how do we actually kind of open up this space where a person can be themselves? So yeah, I mean, these are some loud thinkings, and yeah, I mean, yeah. So these were some of the responses to some issues, and for me also, I mean, my own thoughts. And yeah, I mean, I had to actually kind of really actually kind of, I mean, appreciate Ananya, not just because she's a friend, but also I think it's due. I mean, it's something which she hasn't got enough for this particular film. I mean, even if I had not worked on this film, even if Ananya was not my friend, I would have still said that this is a very important film and Ananya needs to be applauded for this. And I mean, since she's a friend, I'll stress more on this and say, like, yes, she deserves it. So yeah, I'm glad, I mean, it could happen over here. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Samvartha. Uma has a comment in the chat box. Uma, would you like to read it out yourself?
Oh gosh. So, because I don't express so easily, that's why I wrote it. But it was actually the other comments about the the existential sadness of this film on many levels that made me think of that. I had not thought so clearly when I was actually viewing it. I was caught up in it, but hearing the other comments, that's when that triggered. That it's so sad. Of course, the young man not finding a chance to be whatever he wanted to be, that is of course evident to us all. But I think it was one step further also, that we can't even celebrate any feeling of androgyny within us. That was also sort of very moving as one watched. That forget anything, forget him finding a way of being what he wants to be. There's no chance of that. And then on top of it, it's all conjunctured with, it's all at the intersection of sexual exploitation, trafficking. It's all in that morass that we are seeing this, as such a negative thing. Whereas he's actually one of the lucky ones to have both the yin and the yang, So that sort of occurred to me, and that's what I was trying to say, Geeta.
Okay, thank you, Uma. And Diti also, Diti, would you like to speak it out, or should I read it? Diti has a comment. Yeah.
No, this is something that I wanted to add even while I was, it was part of my discussion notes, but I think I missed it. It was about, Shanga's casting as Hari, because, like Uma said, that there is a gentleness that comes in the film. There is a kindness. And, when you watch him perform on stage, there is a very obvious aura of beauty and of of that stage poignance and presence, because I mean, he's made up. There is a grandness about it. But when he is also, playing the role of a woman, or in that sari, or he's just doing the way he's sitting, the way the character is doing everything. It's so beautiful. You never. I realize that maybe like all of the women, they have these very feminine gestures, but it became so much more pronounced when Hari was making those actions. So it was so beautiful to watch. It's like when you watch a performance, you're so taken by it. You're so flow. I mean, he flew like he was as fluid as water on the screen. It was there was something about his the way that languidity in his body language, everything, it just translated beautifully into even it was quite meta in that sense, right? I mean, he's performing as a woman and we're talking about performance. So overall, it was just, I think his casting was quite something. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Diti.
Yeah, while complimenting Ananya for casting him, but interestingly, while Sam referred to it, other two directors who have casted him in important roles. Mansoore also, in a conversation, told me that that somehow he thought that he is the guy. I mean, he casted him in 1920, 21. Where again somebody was, I mean, in person he was discussing that did you catch Shunga like this? He said somehow I felt that he is, and I had a doubt, but when film was going on, I felt that he is the character. I mean, that also came in a discussion that's available on 1920-21 about his casting. And interestingly, Babu Ishwar Prasad, who casted him in his another wonderful work, also told me that yeah, somehow I felt he is it. So it's also credit to Ananya that she introduced him to the screen.
Okay. Any more comments, questions on the film or on the points being discussed here? Yeah. Somebody in the chat box, Galaxy M30, would you like to tell us your name? I haven't watched the movie, but this is fascinating discussion, has got me interested, and I'm planning to watch it as soon as possible. Thank you all. Any other comments, questions? Madhurima, Lakshmi.
Yeah, I
Yes, Madhurima, please go ahead.
yeah, I don't really have anything new to add to the discussion, but I will just say what I liked about the film. So I liked how this uh, theme of the acceptance of gender identity in the context of Yakshagna and outside it, how it is played out in the film. And I liked how Yakshagna is presented as a space where the subversion of gender identity it is accepted. And yet it is because of this occupation that the actor, if we say Hari, his masculinity and responsibilities, these are questioned when it comes to the context of marriage or the context of his performances of masculinity. So it was a really interesting film. I don't really have anything more to add to it, but it was a really interesting discussion. Thank you, everyone, for recommending the film and the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Madhurima. Any more questions, comments? Okay, in that case, we will continue.
Maybe
Yeah.
Diti and Ananya may want to just say some concluding things. I mean, just to
Yeah,
conclude
sure.
the discussion.
Sure,
Diti
sure.
and Ananya.
Well, thank you very much for the lovely discussion, and it's nice to hear about uh, what you felt about the film. So thank you everybody. Thank you, Talking Films Online, for giving me this opportunity to also show the film and have this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ananya. Diti, would you like to say something?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So thank you very much, Ananya, for joining us. Thank you, Diti, for your introduction to the film. And thank you, Samvartha, for again joining us today and for giving us the link to this film. Thank you all very much. We've had a great discussion. So good night and have a nice Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananya.
Thank you.
Somewhat.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.